Hello, I'm Meg. You're joining me today on the Cal Poly Research Pier. This pier is about half a mile long and it's located in Avila, California, about halfway in between San Francisco and LA. Cal Poly staff and students can use this pier to conduct research on the life that's in the ocean. One thing this pier is used for is scuba diving. In order to scuba dive off of the Cal Poly Pier, you have to be a scientific scuba diver. Before we go diving, we need to know how to scuba dive and what gear we need. This is called a BCD, or a buoyancy control device. It sort of acts like a vest that goes on over my shoulders, and then on the back, like a backpack, is an air tank. This is what I use to breathe. This has to be really heavy steel because the air inside of the tank is 24 times the pressure of the air we breathe at sea level. Attached to the tank is something called my octopus. Now there's a lot of tubes here and they all have their own job. Our first tube goes into my BCD, and when I push this button, you can hear air going into my BCD. So it can sort of act like a life vest when I'm on the surface. I can also take air out so that I can sink, and then I squeeze the air out. The next tube goes to my air gauge. Now this is the most important piece of equipment that divers use because it tells you how much air you have left. You always want to get out of the water with at least 700 psi. That way, if something goes wrong, you have spare air. On the back of my depth gauge, we can see I have a compass so that I know where I'm going, and I have a depth so that I know how deep I am. On the other side, we have more tubes. This is my regulator. This is what I use to breathe. Oops. So when we're underwater, you'll see air bubbles coming out of this hole right here. I also have a spare regulator. That way, if something happens to my buddy's air, I can give this to them and we'll both be all right. Right here, I have my safety sausage. I can blow this up when I get to the surface. That way, if I'm diving off of a boat, the boat can see me. Now, we have some other gear as well. Obviously, I want to see when I'm underwater, so I wear this mask. And I have a snorkel, that way if I'm swimming along the surface of the water and I don't want to use my air from my tank, I can breathe out of my snorkel. I also have fins, that way I can really easily propel myself forward because my feet are pretty small and don't do much when I kick. Now, we're also diving in California, and it is really cold here. The water is normally about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, so I need something to protect myself from that. We can see right here, I have my wetsuit. This wetsuit is 7 millimeters of neoprene. You can see the arm is really stiff, so this keeps me warm. On my chest, I have 2 layers of neoprene, so that I'm even warmer right here. I also have a hood to keep my head warm, gloves to keep my fingers warm, and booties to keep my toes warm. Now that you know all the equipment that we use, we can dive in. Let's have fun exploring the water.